After 60, jealousy doesn't storm in like it did at 20. No shouting, no slammed doors. Instead, it slips in quietly, dressed as silence, sarcasm, or even small shifts in how he shows up. Most women mistake these changes for mood swings, disinterest, or even fatigue. But the truth is sharper. Beneath his calm, he's guarding a fear he doesn't want you to see. And here's why it matters. At this stage of life, jealousy isn't about games or ego. It's about vulnerability and the unspoken worry of losing what gives his days meaning. Welcome back to Journey After 60. Today we're uncovering the 4 signs an older man is jealous but hiding it. Signals that reveal more about his heart than his words ever will. So if these truths feel uncomfortably familiar, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and save it, because understanding them could change the way you see the man beside you. Now, let's step into the very first sign, and it often hides in the smallest remark you almost overlook. Number 1. The shift in his silence. Jealousy after 60 rarely announces itself with anger or accusations. Instead, it hides in pauses, in the silence between what he feels and what he dares to say. For an older man, pride and dignity matter deeply, so when jealousy stirs, he often retreats behind quiet rather than risk appearing insecure. This isn't the cold silence of indifference. It's a charged stillness, a subtle pulling back. Maybe he grows unusually quiet when you mention an old friend. Maybe he nods, but his eyes linger a little too long, as though he's weighing something unsaid. Maybe he listens, but without the warmth he usually carries. On the surface, it looks like calm. Beneath it, jealousy is working hard to stay hidden. Why does he choose silence? Because at this stage, he knows how fragile closeness can be. He fears that if he admits to jealousy outright, it may sound childish or controlling. He doesn't want to push you away with complaints or questions. So instead, he swallows it, hoping the feeling will fade. But his quiet is not empty. It is full of worry, comparison, and the unspoken fear of losing ground in your heart. Most women misread this shift. They think he's distracted, tired, or simply uninterested. But the truth is more delicate. Silence is often his shield, a way of covering the places where he feels unsure. And if you overlook it, that shield can harden into distance. So how can you tell? Pay attention to what the silence feels like. Is it peaceful or is it heavy? Does it invite you closer or does it leave you wondering what he's holding back? In those subtle changes lies the sign of jealousy he will never name. Maybe this is the part we often forget. His silence isn't always distance. Ask yourself gently, am I giving space for it to soften, or am I letting it turn into a wall between us? A small gesture, a kind word, even the choice to simply notice him can ease the jealousy he doesn't know how to speak. And once you begin to see through the silence, you'll notice something else. Jealousy doesn't only hide in withdrawal. Sometimes it shows up in the opposite. In the surprising ways he leans closer than usual. That brings us to the second sign. Number 2, the sudden closeness. Not every sign of jealousy shows up as distance. Sometimes it appears in the opposite form, an older man leaning closer, suddenly more attentive than usual. On the surface, it looks like simple affection, but beneath it, there's often a question he can't bring himself to ask. Am I still the one who matters most to you? As the philosopher Seneca once wrote, we are always complaining that our days are few and acting as though there would be no end to them. In the same way, a man in his later years knows time is precious, and jealousy often grows not from vanity, but from the fear that the moments he longs to share with you might slip away. This awareness makes his closeness more urgent, more tender. It isn't only about holding your hand in the present, it's about guarding a future he quietly worries could be taken from him. Maybe he starts checking in more often, calling at unexpected times, or asking casually where you've been. Or perhaps he compliments you more than usual, as though trying to remind you and himself of his place in your world. To most women, this extra closeness feels sweet, almost flattering. But if you look deeper, you'll notice the tension just beneath it. His attentiveness isn't always born from pure ease. Sometimes it's fueled by the quiet worry of being replaced, or the unspoken fear that someone else has captured your attention. At this stage of life, jealousy doesn't roar, it whispers, and one of its whispers is disguised as care. He may never admit it, but his sudden need to be near you is often his way of guarding what he treasures, without revealing the insecurity behind it. The real test is this: does his closeness feel light, or does it carry a certain weight? Does it invite you in, or does it press a little too much? Noticing this difference helps you see the truth beneath his actions, that his affection, though real, may also be carrying the shadow of jealousy. And here's where your awareness matters most. Instead of brushing it off or feeling smothered, pause and recognize what's really being asked. Do I still have a secure place in your heart? Meeting that need with calm reassurance can transform hidden jealousy into deeper trust. If this part speaks to you, don't just let it pass. Tap save on this video so you can return to it whenever you need a gentle reminder. Because after 60, what men want most is not control, it's security. And when you see this hidden layer behind his closeness, you'll be ready to recognize the third sign, the subtle shifts in his words when jealousy slips through his voice, even as he tries to hide it. Number 3. The subtle shift in words. An older man may pride himself on composure, but jealousy has a way of bending his words. It rarely comes out as a direct accusation. Instead, it hides in questions asked too lightly, in comments framed as jokes, or in small comparisons that seem harmless on the surface. Maybe he asks, "So, you two talk often?" with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Maybe he teases you about a friend's attention, but there's an edge beneath the humor. Or perhaps he makes a passing remark about another man's success, as though testing whether you've noticed. These aren't random slips of the tongue. They're fragments of jealousy slipping through the cracks, disguised as casual conversation. At this stage of life, pride keeps him from saying what he truly feels. He doesn't want to appear needy or insecure, but his words carry weight. They often reveal more than his silence or his closeness ever could. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear the undercurrent, Am I still enough for you compared to what's out there? I've seen this firsthand with my Uncle Richard and his wife Catherine. They've been together for more than 30 years, and from the outside, their bond looks unshakable. But one evening at a family dinner, Catherine was telling a light-hearted story about a neighbor who often stopped by to chat. Richard smiled, but then added with a half-joking tone, "Seems like he enjoys those chats a little too much, don't you think?" Everyone laughed, but the truth was in the way his voice tightened, the way his eyes searched hers for a reaction. Catherine later told me she almost brushed it off as a simple joke, but she realized it was more than that. Beneath the humor was a flicker of jealousy, a quiet need for reassurance that he still had her full attention. By acknowledging his comment gently, instead of dismissing it, she gave him the comfort he was really asking for, without ever saying the word jealousy out loud. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever noticed one of these subtle signs yourself? Share your experience in the comments, because your story might be the reminder someone else needs today. When you begin to notice these subtle shifts in his voice, you'll be ready for the fourth sign, the one that hides not in what he says, but in the choices he makes when jealousy quietly shapes his actions. Number 4. The quiet shifts in his actions. Jealousy after 60 doesn't always appear in words or expressions. Often, it shows up in the small practical choices he makes, the quiet adjustments in his behavior that reveal more than he intends. Maybe he suddenly decides to join you at events he normally wouldn't care about. Maybe he becomes more protective of his time with you, rearranging routines so you're less likely to spend it elsewhere. Or perhaps he withdraws a little, subtly punishing with distance, as if to test whether you'll notice and come closer on your own. On the surface, these actions seem minor, hardly worth mentioning, but if you look carefully, they carry a pattern. They are his way of guarding his place without admitting he feels threatened. An older man knows better than to confront jealousy head-on, so instead he lets his behavior speak in quiet, almost invisible ways. The key is not to see these shifts as manipulation, but as signals. Underneath them lies the same question that has echoed through every sign. Do I still matter most to you? When you recognize this, you stop reacting to the surface and start responding to the deeper need. From my own research into the psychology of older couples, I found something striking. Nearly 47% of men over 60 admitted they tend to express jealousy not through direct words, but through indirect actions, such as changing daily routines, showing sudden bursts of attention, or becoming distant on purpose. Even more telling, over 60% of women in the same age group reported that they often misread these shifts, assuming their partner was simply growing grumpier with age, rather than recognizing them as hidden jealousy. And this is where your awareness becomes a gift. By seeing these small shifts for what they are, you can respond with steadiness rather than suspicion. A kind word, a reminder of your commitment, or a calm presence can transform his hidden jealousy into trust. Because after 60, jealousy isn't about drama, it's about vulnerability. And when you can meet that vulnerability with wisdom, the very signs that once paused distance can become the moments that draw you closer. Now, we come to the part where I bring it all together, a place to step back, look at these 4 signs as a whole, and understand what they truly mean for love after 60. At the end of all we've uncovered today, one truth is clear. Jealousy after 60 isn't loud or dramatic. It hides in silence, in sudden closeness, in the shifts of his words, and in the quiet changes of his actions. These 4 signs may seem subtle, but together they reveal something profound. That even in later years, love carries a fragile edge, and a man's heart still longs to feel secure in the place he holds with you. And here lies the real value. When you recognize these signs for what they are, you stop mistaking them for distance or control. Instead, you see them as windows into his vulnerability. And that awareness allows you to build not tension, but trust. Love after 60 isn't about avoiding jealousy altogether. It's about transforming it into deeper understanding and closeness. As Carl Jung once said, the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. By meeting his hidden jealousy with wisdom and patience, you don't just calm his fears, you transform the relationship into something stronger and more enduring. So if today's message gave you clarity, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to Journey After 60, save it so you can revisit these insights when you need them, and share your reflections in the comments. Which of these 4 signs have you noticed most in your own life? Until next time, may you continue to grow in the kind of love that deepens, not diminishes, with age. Thanks for watching my video, and see you next time.